History is not solely a narrative of conflicts and dominant states. It is additionally a record of humanity's darker tendencies, particularly in the way society attempted to discipline and regulate the female population. Across many centuries, the cruel inventiveness of judicial structures transformed the physical forms of women into sites of struggle for established authority and societal expectations. Ranging from the destructive inferno of the pyre to distorted mechanisms created for inflicting pain and disgrace, these sanctions were more than simple acts of malice. They were statements of mastery, suppressing voices that dared to defy. In this presentation, we will reveal some of the most horrifying forms of retribution women endured throughout historical periods. Stay with us while we investigate these agonizing practices, each one more unsettling than the preceding, and uncover the sobering realizations they contain regarding dominion, apprehension, and persecution. Burned at the stake. Combustion at the stake constituted one of history's most notorious and painful penalties, primarily implemented during the Middle Ages to target females accused of religious deviation, sorcery, or deficiencies in morality. This form of execution became a terrible mechanism of fear designed not just to cause unbearable distress, but also to publicly demonstrate the repercussions of challenging established religious power or societal standards. Females were disproportionately subjected to this outcome, often becoming scapegoats during periods of catastrophe such as food shortages or widespread disease when suspicion and anxiety were elevated. The condemned individuals were secured to a wooden upright post encompassed by highly flammable materials and left to expire in agonizing flames before extensive mocking crowds. One of the best recognized casualties of this appalling custom was Joan of Arc, a young French military leader found guilty of heresy and sentenced in 1431. Her concluding utterances were recorded by Jean Massey, who noted her request, "Hold the cross elevated so I might observe it through the fire." Authorities rationalized burning at the stake as a method to cleanse the spirit or safeguard the community from perceived evils. Yet, fundamentally, it was a means of reinforcing established hierarchies of power and silencing individuals who jeopardized them. It exemplifies the convergence of fear, command, and contempt for women, leaving an inheritance of suffering and injustice that vividly demonstrates the steep price of social paranoia and lack of tolerance. Forced to wear Scold's bridle. The Scold's bridle or brank was a merciless apparatus utilized in early modern Scotland and England to muzzle women accused of being contentious, talking excessively, or acting defiantly. This metallic apparatus enclosed the head with a pointed metal plate pressed into the mouth to prevent speech, often resulting in injury and physical trauma. Women subjected to this specific penalty were not only muted, they faced public humiliation. Numerous bridles were embellished with demonic horns or animal characteristics to further ridicule the individual wearing the device, transforming them into targets of communal mockery as they were paraded through settlements. Historian William Harrison described the tool in his account of England as an instrument intended to correct rebellious speech, reflecting a broader attempt by society to compel submission and silence. The design of the bridle sought to fracture the spiritual resolve just as much as the physical body, punishing women for their articulated opinions and existence. The ducking stool punishment. The ducking stool was a form of punitive measure employed in colonial America and medieval England, targeting females accused of being witches, immoral, or nags. This penalty involved strapping the woman into a wooden seat affixed to an elongated lever, which was then utilized to repeatedly submerge her into a volume of water. Far from being a mere technique of correction, it functioned as a public spectacle of control and degradation. Women were frequently plunged into cold, unsanitary water, risking bodily harm, hypothermia, or even mortality as the difficult procedure pushed their physical boundaries. Symbolically, the punishment mirrored ancient customs of trial by water where buoyancy suggested culpability and submersion implied innocence, a grim contradiction that frequently resulted in deadly consequences. Spectators would gather to ridicule and jeer, adding an additional dimension of collective shame to the already agonizing process. The ducking stool was more than solely a physical penalty. It operated as a psychological instrument intended to instill compliance and fear. Breast ripper, torture. The breast ripper, also designated as the iron spider, constituted one of the most gruesome and specifically aimed forms of retribution inflicted upon women during the early modern and medieval periods. This savage instrument was explicitly engineered to maim women, mainly those charged with profanity, adultery, or sorcery. The tool comprised sharp metallic claws that were either heated or employed cold to lacerate the victim's breasts. The procedure was not only tremendously painful but also served as a terrifying public display, aimed at disgracing women and discouraging others from challenging established societal expectations. Tortured on the Spanish donkey. The Spanish donkey, or wooden horse, was an alarming medieval apparatus for torture that epitomized the brutal extremes of penalties inflicted on females accused of disregarding societal conventions. The device featured a sharp three-sided timber beam upon which the individual was compelled to sit or straddle. Substantial weights were fastened to the ankles, thereby increasing the downward force applied to the body and driving the sharp edge deep into the flesh. This caused excruciating discomfort, severe injuries, and frequently, irreversible damage. This technique was employed during the Spanish Inquisition and other authoritative regimes, particularly against females accused of adultery, witchcraft, or other violations deemed menacing to the established governing order. Horror of the Pair of Anguish. The Pair of Anguish, or ****, was a cruel and intrusive torture device that stands as one of the most horrifying inventions in recorded history. Shaped like a metallic pear, the implement was inserted into the victim's body, depending upon the charges, into the mouth, or in more explicit language, other vulnerable regions. Once positioned, the person administering the torture would rotate a screw, causing the device to expand, tearing the surrounding bodily material and inflicting unbearable agony. The internal wounds were frequently critical, with many victims enduring lifelong disabilities or even succumbing to their inflicted injuries. The application of such a tool was focused as much on degradation as it was on retribution, targeting the psychological and physical welfare of women in profoundly invasive manners. Although the historical evidence concerning its widespread usage is limited, its design reflects the inventive nature of cruelty employed to dominate and silence women under the pretense of dispensing justice. Tormented on the iron chair. The iron chair, also known as the chair of torture, was a dreadful apparatus utilized to inflict boundless suffering upon those subjected to it, specifically women accused of crimes like treason, adultery, or sorcery. The chair was studded with hundreds of pointed spikes on the armrests, back support, and seat. Victims were compelled to sit on it, their bodies pressed against the spikes while straps were cinched to render them immobile. In specific instances, the chair was warmed, causing additional distress as the metallic surface burned the skin. This penalty was psychological just as much as it was physical. Victims were sometimes left secured to the chair for hours at a time. For numerous individuals, the chair was not only a method of punishment but a preliminary step to execution, utilized to weaken the body and destroy the spirit before actual death. Records originating from the Inquisition revealed the use of the iron chair in extracting confessions, particularly from females accused of heresy or witchcraft. The various punishments endured by women throughout historical periods serve as haunting reminders of the consequences resulting from prejudice, apprehension, and uncontrolled authority. These acts of brutality were beyond mere punitive measures. They served as instruments of repression intended to control, silence, and divest women of their inherent dignity. As we reflect upon these dark chapters in history, we are reminded of the resilience of the human character and the significance of tirelessly pursuing justice, rooted in compassion and equality. What aspects of these retributions stood out most significantly to you? How do they influence your current understanding of justice today? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments section below. If you found this investigation meaningful, we strongly encourage you to subscribe, like, and activate the notification bell. Let us gain knowledge from and investigate history collectively.